What if I told you? Most people fail at ketosis not because keto doesn't work, but because they're doing it wrong. Today, I'm going to give you 5 smart, science backed hacks to get into ketosis faster, without guessing, without frustration, and without wasting weeks. Let's fix this the right way. Most people wake up every single day believing they're burning calories, but the truth is far more disturbing. Their bodies are trapped in a sugar-burning prison, locked into a cycle that keeps them tired, hungry, and slowly gaining fat no matter how hard they try. The human body was never designed to run constantly on sugar, yet modern diets have forced it into exactly that state. And the result is a metabolic disaster happening silently inside millions of people right now. Every time you eat high-carb foods, bread, rice, sugar, even so-called healthy snacks, your body releases insulin. And insulin has one primary job: to stop fat burning and store energy. That means every bite of sugar doesn't just give you energy, it actively blocks your body from accessing the fat you already have stored. This is why people feel stuck, frustrated, and exhausted, because they are literally locked out of their own energy reserves. But something remarkable happens when you remove that constant flood of carbohydrates. When carbs drop low enough, insulin levels begin to fall, and for the first time in a long time, your body is given permission to do what it was designed to do: burn fat. This is the moment ketosis begins, a powerful metabolic switch where your body stops depending on glucose and starts converting fat into ketones, a clean and highly efficient fuel source produced by the liver. And here's what most people don't realize: ketones are not just an alternative fuel, they are a superior one. Research shows that ketones produce more stable energy with fewer fluctuations, meaning no sudden crashes, no desperate hunger spikes, and no brain fog dragging you down throughout the day. Imagine waking up in the morning and not feeling desperate for breakfast, not because you're forcing yourself to skip it, but because your body is already fueled, already satisfied, already running on stored energy. That's the power of ketosis. Instead of being controlled by cravings every few hours, your body becomes metabolically flexible, able to tap into its fat stores whenever it needs energy. This is not starvation. This is efficiency at its highest level. Studies have shown that when the body is in ketosis, hunger hormones like ghrelin decrease, while satiety hormones increase, which explains why people naturally eat less without feeling deprived. And then there's the brain. Your brain consumes a massive amount of energy every single day, and when it relies on glucose, that energy supply is unstable. Blood sugar spikes, then crashes, and with it comes fatigue, irritability, and lack of focus. But ketones change that equation entirely. They provide a steady, uninterrupted fuel source that the brain thrives on. In fact, neurological research has shown that ketones can improve cognitive function, enhance mental clarity, and even support brain health in conditions like Alzheimer's disease, which some scientists now refer to as type 3 diabetes due to its strong link with impaired glucose metabolism. Now think about this. If your body has access to tens of thousands of calories stored as fat, why does it constantly demand more food? The answer is simple and shocking. As long as insulin remains elevated, that stored fat is essentially locked away, inaccessible. You could have more than enough energy stored to last for days, even weeks, but your body cannot use it. That's why people feel hungry even after eating, because they are fueling the wrong system. Ketosis flips that system. It unlocks your stored fat and turns it into a constant, reliable energy supply. And the benefits don't stop at fat loss or energy. Ketosis has been shown to reduce inflammation in the body, a root cause of many chronic diseases. Lower insulin levels mean less oxidative stress, improved metabolic health, and a reduced risk of conditions like type 2 diabetes. In fact, studies have demonstrated that ketogenic diets can significantly improve insulin sensitivity, allowing the body to regain control over blood sugar levels in a way that conventional high-carb diets simply cannot achieve. But here's where it becomes even more powerful. Ketosis is not just about physical transformation. It's about breaking free from a system that keeps you dependent on constant eating. Think about how often you're told to eat: breakfast, snacks, lunch, more snacks, dinner, as if your body cannot survive without a steady stream of food. Yet throughout human history, access to food was not constant, and the body evolved to handle that. Ketosis is a return to that natural state where energy comes from within, not just from what's on your plate. This is why so many people describe ketosis as life-changing, not because it's trendy or popular, but because it restores something fundamental that has been lost: metabolic freedom. No more being controlled by cravings, no more energy crashes dictating your day, no more feeling like your body is working against you. Instead, you become in control again, fueled by your own stored energy, powered by a system that is efficient, stable, and incredibly resilient. And yet, despite all of this, most people never reach true ketosis. They stay stuck in a halfway state, reducing carbs slightly, but not enough to lower insulin, eating frequently enough to keep fat burning turned off, and wondering why nothing changes. The difference between struggling and succeeding often comes down to understanding this one principle. Ketosis is not about eating less. It's about changing what your body uses for fuel. When you shift that fuel source from sugar to fat, everything changes: your energy, your hunger, your focus, and your ability to burn fat efficiently. So the real question is not whether ketosis works. The science is clear, the evidence is overwhelming. The real question is whether you are ready to step out of the sugar-burning cycle and allow your body to do what it was always designed to do. Because once you experience what it feels like to run on ketones, to have stable energy, clear focus, and true control over your hunger, there is no going back. Most people think entering ketosis is complicated, confusing, or something that takes weeks of trial and error, but the truth is far more unsettling. It's not complicated, it's just misunderstood, and that misunderstanding is exactly what keeps people stuck, frustrated, and failing over and over again. The human body is not broken, it is predictable, and when you understand the rules that govern it, you stop guessing and start getting results fast. These 5 hacks are not trends. They are rooted in metabolic science, and when applied correctly, they can shift your body into fat-burning mode in a matter of days, not weeks. The first and most brutal truth is this: your body cannot enter ketosis if carbohydrates are still dominating your system. Every gram of carbohydrate you consume is converted into glucose, and that glucose triggers insulin, and insulin immediately shuts down fat burning. This is not a theory. This is a biological law. Studies in metabolic physiology have consistently shown that even moderate carbohydrate intake can keep insulin elevated enough to block ketone production. That means if you're eating what you think is low carb, but still consuming 50, 60, or 100 grams a day, your body is stuck in limbo, not fully burning sugar, not fully burning fat, just trapped in between. Cutting carbs down to 20, 30 grams per day is not extreme, it is precise. It is the threshold where insulin drops low enough for your body to finally unlock stored fat and begin producing ketones at a meaningful level. But cutting carbs alone is not enough, because timing matters just as much as what you eat. This is where intermittent fasting becomes a powerful accelerator. When you stop eating for a prolonged period, your body is forced to confront a simple reality: there is no incoming fuel. At first, it burns through stored glycogen, the sugar reserve held in your liver and muscles. But once that reserve is depleted, something remarkable happens. Your body switches to fat as its primary fuel source. Research shows that glycogen stores can be significantly reduced within 12 to 24 hours of fasting. And once that happens, ketone production begins to rise rapidly. This is why a 16-hour fasting window is so effective. It creates a metabolic environment where fat burning is not optional, it is necessary. You are not starving your body, you are teaching it to access the energy it already has. And yet, as powerful as this shift is, many people fail at this stage because they feel weak, dizzy, or overwhelmed, and they assume something is wrong. In reality, this is where the third hack becomes critical, and it is one of the most overlooked factors in the entire ketogenic process: electrolytes. When insulin levels drop, your kidneys begin to excrete more sodium, and with that sodium, water and other minerals like potassium and magnesium are lost. This is not a minor change. It is a dramatic shift in your body's internal balance. The symptoms that follow, headaches, fatigue, muscle cramps, are often labeled as the keto flu, but they are not caused by ketosis itself. They are caused by a lack of electrolytes. Scientific observations have shown that maintaining proper sodium levels alone can significantly reduce these symptoms and improve energy levels during the transition into ketosis. Something as simple as adding salt to your water or meals can be the difference between feeling exhausted and feeling energized. Then comes movement, a factor that many people underestimate or completely ignore. Exercise is not just about burning calories, it is about accelerating metabolic change. When you move your body, especially in a fasted state, you burn through glycogen stores at a much faster rate. This means your body is pushed toward fat burning and ketone production more quickly. Studies have shown that even moderate activity, like walking, can significantly increase fat oxidation, especially when insulin levels are low. You don't need extreme workouts or hours in the gym. In fact, overtraining can increase stress hormones like cortisol, which may slow down your progress. What your body needs is consistent, strategic movement, a signal that energy demand is high and stored fuel must be used. And then there is the most misunderstood hack of all, the one that goes against everything people have been taught for decades: eating fat. For years, fat was blamed for weight gain, heart disease, and poor health, but modern research has begun to dismantle that narrative, revealing a far more complex and surprising truth. When carbohydrates are low and insulin is controlled, dietary fat does not get stored as body fat in the same way. Instead, it becomes a primary fuel source, supporting the production of ketones and sustaining energy levels. This is not an excuse to eat endlessly. It is a shift in fuel strategy. Foods like eggs, butter, olive oil, and avocados are not obstacles. They are tools. They signal to your body that fat is available and should be used as energy. Without enough fat, many people feel deprived, fatigued, and more likely to quit before they ever reach true ketosis. What makes these 5 hacks so powerful is not just their individual impact, but how they work together as a system. Cutting carbs lowers insulin. Fasting depletes glycogen. Electrolytes stabilize your body. Movement accelerates fuel usage. Fat intake supports the transition. Each one reinforces the other, creating a metabolic environment where ketosis is not difficult, it is inevitable. This is why some people struggle for weeks while others succeed in just a few days. It is not about luck or genetics. It is about understanding and applying the rules correctly. And here's the part that changes everything. Once your body adapts to this system, it becomes incredibly efficient. You are no longer dependent on constant meals, no longer trapped in cycles of hunger and fatigue, no longer controlled by cravings that seem impossible to resist. Instead, your body becomes stable, focused, and resilient. Energy is no longer something you chase, it is something you have. The tragedy is that most people never experience this, not because it's out of reach, but because they were never taught how to reach it. They try, they struggle, they give up, and they assume the problem is them. But the truth is, the problem is the lack of clarity, the missing pieces, the small but critical details that make all the difference. Because when you understand how your body truly works, when you stop guessing and start applying these principles with precision, ketosis stops being a mystery and becomes a predictable outcome. And once you experience that shift, once you feel what it's like to run on a steady, powerful source of energy that comes from within, you begin to realize something profound. Your body was never the problem. It was simply waiting for you to give it the right signals. Most people don't fail at ketosis because they lack discipline. They fail because they are never shown how to actually live it in the real world, where cravings hit, routines break, and life doesn't follow a perfect diet plan. The truth is harsh but simple. A strategy that cannot be applied daily is a strategy that will eventually collapse. And this is exactly where most people fall apart. They start strong, motivated, inspired, but within days, confusion sets in, hunger creeps back, energy drops, and the entire system begins to feel unsustainable. Not because ketosis doesn't work, but because their daily structure is broken. The human body thrives on patterns, not perfection. Research in behavioral science shows that consistency in routine is one of the strongest predictors of long-term success in any lifestyle change. When your body knows when to expect food and when to rely on stored energy, it adapts faster, more efficiently, and with less resistance. This is why a simple daily blueprint is not just helpful, it is essential. It removes decision fatigue, eliminates guesswork, and allows your metabolism to stabilize into a rhythm that supports fat burning instead of fighting against it. Imagine starting your day without immediately reaching for food. No sugar spike, no insulin surge, no interruption of fat burning. Instead, you wake up and your body is already in control, already using stored fat as fuel. This is the power of extending your overnight fast. Studies have shown that insulin levels are naturally lower in the morning, and by avoiding early meals, you prolong that low insulin state, giving your body more time to produce ketones and burn fat. Something as simple as drinking water or black coffee instead of eating breakfast can amplify fat oxidation in those early hours, turning your morning into a metabolic advantage rather than a missed opportunity. And then comes your first meal, the moment where most people unknowingly sabotage their progress. A high-carb meal at this point doesn't just break the fast, it resets the entire system, spiking insulin and shutting down fat burning almost instantly. But when your first meal is built around healthy fats and controlled protein, something very different happens. Eggs cooked in butter, paired with avocado, provide a powerful combination of nutrients that stabilize blood sugar, reduce hunger hormones, and sustain energy for hours. Scientific studies have shown that high-fat, low-carb meals lead to greater satiety and lower subsequent calorie intake compared to high-carb alternatives. In other words, you don't just eat differently, you naturally eat less without forcing yourself. As the day continues, the goal is not to constantly feed your body, but to maintain a state where it can continue accessing stored energy. This is where many people make a critical mistake. They snack. Not because they are truly hungry, but because they are conditioned to believe they should eat frequently. Every snack, no matter how small, triggers insulin to some degree, and that repeated interruption prevents the body from staying in a fat-burning state. Research has increasingly shown that frequent eating patterns can keep insulin elevated throughout the day, limiting metabolic flexibility and reducing the body's ability to switch between fuel sources. Breaking this pattern is uncomfortable at first, but it is necessary. It teaches your body to trust its own energy reserves. Dinner then becomes your second anchor point, not a time to overindulge, but a strategic opportunity to reinforce ketosis. A meal built around quality protein, low-carb vegetables, and healthy fats does more than just satisfy hunger. It replenishes essential nutrients, supports muscle maintenance, and keeps insulin levels controlled as you move into the night. Vegetables provide fiber and micronutrients that support gut health, while fats like olive oil ensure sustained energy without disrupting ketosis. This balance is not accidental. It is designed to keep your body stable, nourished, and in a fat-burning state even while you sleep. And yet, even with a solid routine, there are silent mistakes that can destroy progress without you realizing it. Hidden carbohydrates are one of the biggest threats. Foods labeled as healthy or low fat often contain sugars and starches that spike insulin and delay ketosis. Sauces, dressings, and packaged snacks can quietly push your carb intake beyond the threshold, keeping you stuck without obvious signs. Then there is protein, often misunderstood as harmless, but when consumed in excess, it can be converted into glucose through a process called gluconeogenesis, raising blood sugar and interfering with ketone production. This doesn't mean protein is bad, it means balance is critical. But perhaps the most underestimated factor of all is sodium. As insulin drops, your body excretes more salt, and without replacing it, you begin to feel weak, fatigued, and mentally drained. This is not a failure of ketosis, it is a failure of preparation. Studies and clinical observations have repeatedly shown that maintaining adequate sodium levels can dramatically improve energy, reduce symptoms of the so-called keto flu, and make the transition into ketosis far smoother. Something as simple as adding salt to your meals or drinking electrolyte-rich fluids can transform your entire experience. What makes this daily blueprint so powerful is not its complexity, but its simplicity. It aligns with how your body naturally functions, rather than forcing it into an artificial pattern. It respects hormonal rhythms, supports metabolic flexibility, and removes the constant struggle between willpower and biology. Over time, this structure becomes automatic. Hunger stabilizes, cravings fade, and energy becomes consistent in a way that most people have never experienced before. And then something deeper begins to change. You stop thinking about food all the time. You stop planning your day around meals and start living with a sense of freedom that comes from knowing your body is capable of sustaining itself. This is not just physical transformation, it is psychological liberation. You are no longer controlled by the need to eat every few hours, no longer trapped in cycles of craving and guilt, no longer dependent on external fuel to function. The reality is, anyone can start a diet, but very few can sustain it. Not because they are weak, but because they are following systems that don't fit real life. This is what makes a daily ketosis blueprint different. It is not about perfection, it is about alignment. It works with your body, not against it. It simplifies decisions, reduces stress, and creates an environment where success is not forced, but inevitable. Because in the end, ketosis is not achieved in a single moment, it is built through daily actions repeated over time. Every morning you extend your fast, every meal you structure correctly, every time you resist unnecessary snacking, you are reinforcing a system that brings you closer to metabolic control. And once that system is in place, once your body fully adapts and begins to thrive in this state, you realize something that changes everything. The hardest part was never ketosis itself. It was learning how to live it every single day.